there, and good morning. Or afternoon, or whatever time it is. It's April 28th, Tuesday today, and this is the live drawing party. And I'm Danny Gregory, stationed here in Phoenix, Arizona. And I see that there's lots of people dropping by, including, for some reason, many people from Minnesota who are probably enjoying different weather than we are here in Phoenix, where it is scalding. But as you can see by my friend, I can't do this properly. All right, so this guy who's over here, yes, there you go. This guy is going to be our model for today, and we're going to get into drawing him in a minute. He is an unfortunate criminal from the 1920s in Australia. He was arrested and mugshotted. If you'd like to get a full res big size version of this picture, look at the notes below here on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, and you'll see a link that will take you directly to a page where I put him and a couple of his colleagues. So yeah, so that we're going to get to that in a minute. In the meantime, I wanted to remind you that if you do any drawings today that you would like to share of our friend, you can put hashtag SBS Drawing Party and post them on the social media platform of your choice or in the Sketchbook School schoolyard. And I would love to be able to see what you've been doing. It's an exciting part of this process is to see how you're interpreting the same thing that I'm drawing. So please use that hashtag. Also, I just wanted to remind you of another thing that we do here on a regular basis is urge you to sign up for Danny's list. I'm Danny Gregory. This is my list. If you sign up for this list on a regular basis or an irregular basis, I will send you ideas, essays, stuff that I'm making, just so that you can share in it. Let me know what you think if you want to, or hopefully it'll just inform, inspire, educate you in some way. So sign up for this list at sketchbookschool.com/Danny's-list. Put your name down there, and we'll fire off some stuff to you when it's ready. People have been enjoying what we've done so far. I also wanted to tell you about the Brush and Line, which is our new upcoming watercolor and ink workshop with Omar Wynn, a fantastic British artist. And a lot of people have been signing up for this workshop since we announced it a couple days ago. But I hope you will join them, and you can sign up for this at our website, which is here, sketchbookschool.com/workshops. So this workshop will teach you an incredibly interesting and useful technique of how to combine the energy and beauty and color of watercolor with the expressive line quality of dip pens and other kinds of pens to draw very simple household objects, but actually to ultimately draw virtually anything. And it's a really great technique, and I strongly urge you to sign up for this new workshop. It is coming up in a couple of weeks, and I think it's going to be really fun. Okay, so today I have a special guest that I'm excited to have join me, and that is my son, Jack T. Gregory, who dropped by with his girlfriend and his dog to briefly visit us here in quarantine, and we did some drawing together. But some of you may know Jack. He's been part of my art making and filmmaking and book writing and blogging since he was a young'un. And here's I want to show you a little film that we made many years ago about a giant sketchbook that I got. And this will give you an example of how enthusiastic Jack has always been about drawing and continues to be to this day. But this is a few years ago. This is a giant sketchbook. It has 696 pages. Fairly decent paper, nice binding, and it probably weighs, I don't know, more than one of my dogs. And as you can see, unbelievably thick, unbelievably heavy, and everybody wants to get one of them, in my house at least. What? Dad?
Dad?
What?
I gotta talk to you.
What is it?
Well, it's about that new book.
What book?
You know, the sketchbook?
What, that big sketchbook?
Yes.
What is it? What about it?
Well, can I have it? It's just that, like, all my other drawing books are just, they're just a little too small, you know? And I don't feel like 496 pages is enough. So, I mean, 744 seems like just the right amount. And plus, whenever I start a new drawing book, then it takes me like half the pages to do a good drawing, and then it's over. And I need to get a new sketchbook and then restart the whole process. So, just think about it, you know what I mean? Dad, I have to play video games. I don't have anything to draw in. I filled up the tiny little sketchbook you gave me. Dad, I swear, if you let me have that giant sketchbook, I'll practice the drums 5 times a day.
And that's supposed to be a good thing? I'll tell the neighbors.
And I'll do the best drawings ever. I mean, there's so many pages. I'll do big drawings, small drawings, dragon drawings, animal drawings, dead people drawings, all different kinds. Alright, good night, Dad. I'm going to be dreaming about that giant sketchbook all night long. Sleep.
Alright, good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is what it looks like when you get it. It has this dust jacket on it, so it looks like a real coffee table book. Sketches in the making. It's available from alternativearts.com.
I love my giant sketchbook.
All right. Are you ready to do some drawing?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to draw on our respective iPads, and we're going to draw this photo of this geezer from the 1920s. All right? What are you thinking as you examine his face?
I don't know. I'm just. I always start with the eyes, or a lot of the time, I guess.
Oh, you do, really?
It gives me like a good center, and it like. I don't really know why.
No, I mean the eyes are like the most important part of the expression. I often leave them till later, just because I feel like I want to get the rest of the face done. And if I screw up the eyes right at the beginning, I just lose my confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So I start with the outline of his head, and he's kind of got a long, thin face, and that's kind of where I start.
I think that's a funny thing is that you've always like I never used to draw like that ever, and I feel like you've always drawn that way.
You mean
outline first?
You mean starting, considering the whole head?
Yeah.
Right.
Why do you think that you do that first? Is it a composition thing?
Because I think what happens when I start drawing the eyes first is then you make one slight mistake, like you make one eye higher than the other, and then you make the nose in slightly the wrong thing, and then before long the whole face is like really weird and going in a different direction. Whereas if you draw the outline of the head, then you at least, it's like this friend of mine said, first you build the house and then you put in the furniture. So I think that's kind of why I do it. But I mean, obviously I'm going to the eyes too, pretty early. But what is it you're drawing? Are you drawing, you're drawing the contours, but like it's so bony what you're making. Like it's very bony.
I think I'm trying to get like that bridge of his nose first. Like
right.
I can really see that as like a prominent shape, and getting that really 3-dimensional, and then also like I don't know. I think I like to keep it really symmetrical for some reason. I think like making faces symmetrical is cool, and I also blur. I think I'm like, I don't know. I think a lot of the time it's important to draw just what you're seeing, but I like to have landmarks be the same sort of or something.
Right, but you're adding like a lot of lines that aren't the most obvious things to add. Like you're adding like these little, like you just make his face like tougher and bonier, which I think is cool because that makes him look more criminal in some way.
I think it just builds up an architecture more, and it makes it more like just 3-dimensional. The more and more that I add to it in that way, brings it out more.
Right.
But it might also just be like a cheap way of making it look better or something. You know.
Well, how do you feel about drawing from a photograph?
I haven't done it that much. I feel like a lot of times my drawings are more precise when I'm working from a photograph for sure, but it's definitely hard to get that 3-dimensionality
from a photo.
Yeah, because it's just like
because it's flat, because the picture is flat.
Well, I think a lot of times when you're drawing, like, or at least when I'm doing it, like I'm feeling the shapes, like it's as if I'm like feeling that guy's face, and if it's really a thing there, I can do that more easily. But like now I'm like looking at his jaw and how it kind of pulls off to the side down at the bottom, and I can feel that like pull or something, you know. But
right. No, it does. It looks like he's got like a broken jaw or something. He has that.
Yeah, or he has like a
kind of
toothache or something.
A divot. Yeah. I mean, I think another prominent thing about him is like those cheekbones. He's got like serious cheekbones, and then those ears, of course.
The ears.
That was the first thing I drew, was those ears, because they're like they look like jug handles, you know. So that seemed like part of his personality, to draw the ears. But I also get to this point where I've kind of drawn in where the features are, and now I start to having to decide like how much shading and 3-dimensionality am I going to add with adding lights and darks, and you know, and that's often where it goes bad.
Where it goes bad?
Yeah, because it becomes like you lose the personality when you start to consider the head too much as like a 3-dimensional object. Like you lose the things that make it a character. You know?
Right. Yeah.
But in his case, I picked this picture because I really liked his jacket and those lapels, and that striped shirt, and it's like a cheap suit kind of, but it's still a suit. You know, it's like he's still trying to be kind of classy, but.
But do you think he was busted in the suit, or do you think he wore this to? I guess when you
no,
take
I think
a mugshot,
it's like as soon as you come to the police station, they put you in they take your picture, right?
Yeah.
It's not like they weren't like, make sure you dress up before we take your mugshot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
that's really weird.
but you know, those guys, like, they wore suits all the time. Like that's what you put on.
Mm-hmm.
And he may have only had like one suit, maybe two suits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I think his hair is pretty weird too.
I know. I waited a long time to draw that hair because it's like wavy.
Well, it's
and
almost
it stands
like
up.
He's balding around a mohawk or something. Yeah.
Well, he has like it's called a widow's peak almost. Really, like, isn't it like receding temples? But there's, yeah.
I know what you mean about him being a criminal. It's pretty weird because he seems like he has a real innocence to him, or like he's just a dimwit or something.
What do you think he did?
I don't know. Like is it white collar or blue collar crime?
That's true. I mean, he
seems like a blue collar. That's what I'm saying. Though. Like he doesn't look like the kind of guy that would be wearing that suit. He looks like someone who put that suit on to go to court or something. But that doesn't make sense, obviously.
No, I mean, he could be. I mean, like, he doesn't look like a burglar or like a mugger or something like that.
Like a con man, maybe.
Yeah, it could be a con man, or it could be, as you say, he could be a white collar criminal. He's probably not like a bank robber, but who knows? I mean, he definitely looks like, poor me. Like, I didn't do anything. Like, what do you mean? Yeah. But what is his name? A.F. West. 1922. So he's definitely not alive anymore.
Hmm.
This picture was taken 98 years ago.
Hmm.
And so he's long dead.
I hope so.
You hope so.
I don't know. I guess I do.
I wonder if that suit is still around.
Yeah, probably not.
But that's what I like about drawing these old mugshots is you can't help but think about this. This is like a real person. It's not like a model who poses.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Speaking of posing, so you like to do life drawing, or you've been doing a fair amount of going to life drawing classes recently.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what brought that on? Like, when did you start doing that?
I think it's kind of like when I get wrapped up in work and need to like take a break from making stuff or don't have time for it, and then in order to get back into it, like I'll go to some classes, and it's like just a thing to do. They have classes at like 6 o'clock on weekdays, and then on the weekend in the morning or whatever, and it's like you reach a point where it feels like what you're making is like artwork pieces or something, like there's like, it's good practice, but then you reach a point where you're like, okay, I'm just drawing this figure over and over, and that's the content of what I'm making. Now it's time to take the style and the techniques that I've developed over the past little bit and apply it to like a personal project or something. So
is it like, it's just like warm up and working things through, or is it like about trying to make a good drawing that you're finished with? Or is it...
That's how it feels in the moment, but I think that at the end of the day, having a bunch of portraits of naked women doesn't really,
No, that's why I always felt about it. Like, that's why I struggled with it, because I was like, okay, now I've got a bunch of pictures of naked strangers. Like, like I have no connection with them. I don't. So it becomes like about something else.
But you just pick up like I always think that I can get light in a really good, like, programmed into my brain the way that shading and lighting works really in a good way, and then I draw something else, I can just fill in the shapes because I've like, when you look at something like that that's three-dimensional, you can just understand the sculpture of it, and you can like, in your brain later, you can look at something that you've made and say, okay, I understand how light is going to land on these forms, and I can make it myself.
So you're like picking up rules and principles, you think, that you're then going to apply in
but
ways?
it's like subconscious.
So I think, to me, it's also about confidence. It's like if you do it a lot, then you kind of just like know what to do in a certain situation. And the only way that comes about is doing it a lot.
Yeah.
And life drawing gives you like a thing to do. It's like you feel like drawing, all right, well, here's a naked person to draw. Let's draw that.
And it just, I think you're totally right. It just makes it feel like, I don't know, it's even at the moment I feel like I'm just tracing old drawings basically and then like painting them, and I feel like a little bit weary of like having to draw original content and then start from there. So like once I do it once, I feel like I'll get back into the hang of it or something. But
is your judgment of what you're doing different than if you're making like a final art piece? Like, are you like, oh, that's good, or that's, I'm embarrassed of that, or that would have
I feel pretty confident about it most of the time. Part of the issue with the life drawing classes is they set the times. So like if you really like doing a 25-minute pose, it can be hard to find a class that is all 25-minute poses. So if you go, you have to be there for the whole class to save your spot, and then you end up doing like 10 2-minute poses or more, doing an hour and a half of 2-minute poses, which is a nice warm-up, but I think once you're doing it enough, you reach a point where it's just sort of useless. Like, you don't need that anymore, and it just wastes paper. It literally wastes paper.
That's interesting.
That's how it feels.
So is it also like that a certain length of drawing is like a certain kind of problem? And so it's really more about the length of time than it is the person and the subject?
Sometimes, but also it's like if you're doing a lot of one length, like the class that I go to does 4 25-minute poses, and then at the end, however much time is remaining, it's usually like 12 minutes or something, we'll do one last pose, and that's usually like the best time. Like that's the best time constraint.
Is that because you've loosened yourself up?
I think it's because like you've got, you're like,
you're warmed up.
I'm so confident with this pace that I'm drawing in the 25-minute that when the 10-minute comes around, it's like I'm not, I don't know, I'm not like overdoing anything or like,
Right, you know how to pace yourself.
yeah,
Right.
like it doesn't, like a lot of times with the 25-minute, maybe it reaches a point where it's just like, I don't know, I'm just messing around at the end. But with the 10-minute, it's like, that's it. You don't have any more, you know?
Well, I think we're also like with this drawing that we're doing now. Do you feel like I feel like I could easily screw it up now by going too far. Like I'm now going to add a little bit of like a background, I guess, or something. But these kind of drawings, they're kind of just doodly fun, you know. So it's like, oh yeah, I have some more time. Maybe I should have stopped earlier, or maybe I'll come back to it a bit later. But I think time is always like a big factor and you don't really think about it that much. But like if you have too much time, too little time, how much time you have, makes a lot of difference in the decisions that you're making.
Yeah, and just how much you're prepping. Like if I was gonna plan this out more, I would have prepped the background first and then worked on it or done something different, maybe, you know. But it's
because you just like jumped in and started drawing the
Yeah.
eyes. You didn't really think about like what's.
And so now I'm just kind of like sort of adding things, but even these lines and like fills would be better if they were a little more considered. I'm just trying to get.
What are you trying to do now with what you're adding?
I think I'm just trying to, like, his eyes are so important to his personality.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to kind of make them pop a little bit more, and then also I like the idea that he's like shrouded in dark, like peeking out of darkness, kind of almost, or something. Like his character is like that,
Right.
and
Well, that was good fun. Our drawings were pretty different from each other
yeah, it's funny how different they turned out for sure.
because you weren't using color and I was like using color from the beginning,
I know.
and it's different. Do you think that there's like a genetic component to our drawings, like that?
That our drawings are similar. I think they're
I
pretty
don't
different,
think
though.
they are pretty different. No, I
So
mean, I
I
just
hope-
wonder like if anybody looked at them, they'd be like, oh yeah, they're definitely related.
I don't think so. Maybe.
Maybe so. All right, cool. Well, that was fun. Thank you. Thanks for doing it with me.
Yeah, man.
That was good.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me. And hopefully you had a chance to draw our guy. If you did and you'd like to share it with me, please do. Put that hashtag on it. And hopefully you got the URL. I think Morgan shared it as well, so you can download this. There's actually 3 different mugshots up there that you can work from, and it would be cool to see what you're doing. So it was fun to draw with my boy, and he's packing up to head out on the road again. So I'm going to go and say goodbye to him, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good day.